Thank you.
Okay, okay, I'm not worried.
Good evening. I'd like to call tonight's school board meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. I'd really like to see all of you here. With that, if you wouldn't mind standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item is call to the public. I do not have any official requests in front of me. Anyone ever call to the public? All right, moving on right along. If I could have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Madam
However,
President, I have
yes.
one request. We were hoping to get item E in, but this did not arrive in time, so I'm requesting to pull item E from the consent agenda. Yeah.
So motion to adopt tonight's agenda with pulling item E off of agenda item 8, approval of consent agenda, please.
I'll-
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You do, I'll second.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda with pulling item
And I
off
will
the
second.
consent agenda.
The whole agenda.
And the rest of the agenda.
The whole agenda.
So we will have-
All right, we have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Thank you, so moved. Agenda item 6A is our public hearing for the 2021 district expenditure budget revision number 3. Motion to open our public hearing.
So moved.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second. Again, discussion. All right, thank you. Public hearing, Mr. Livingston.
So our item then for discussion is the third revision of our budget for this year. That includes our classroom site fund, our operating fund, our capital fund, all of our federal funds. And that will be, again, based on how this goes, that will be approved by the governing board later on as an action item. The state of Arizona allows us to revise our budgets from the 1st of July, the first of the fiscal year, up till the middle of May. Every board meeting if we want to. We don't really need that. We probably want 2 a year. This year I wanted to do 3, one in April and one in May, because there were so many factors in play. And if the board would like to just refer, I believe there's a little budget 25 sheet right behind this big copy. I think it's in here of the budget. And it's this sheet where it says page 1 of 2. And it's called a budget 25, and the Department of Education puts these, yeah, right after the really long Excel spreadsheet, that landscape sheet.
So this one I got.
And it says date is April 28th. And when we did this back in April, the April 12th meeting, there were some differences on the side here in the tune of about 400,000. So now we did that, and I submitted that the very night you approved it. So now the difference is 50,424. And you like to just have 0 differences. That means our budget is the exact same for our student count and our factors as the Department of Education is. And the reason was, when we came to you on the April 12th meeting, we had a 100th day count. That's our final count for the year on March 12th of 2,066 students. Now it's 2,061 students. So those 5 students reduced that, they increased our difference by 50,000. So now we'll budget down and we'll catch that number. Our budget at that time was, you can see it, $14,512,448. Now it falls to $14,462,023 if you approve the budget tonight. I hope you do. Any questions on that from the employees or guests or board members? That's really all we're doing.
Any questions, discussion? Great. We do need a motion to close the public hearing, so
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? And it is closed.
You need a vote after your second.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I know that. All in favor?
Aye.
You said that. Thank you. Motion carries. Item 7A, Heritage Middle School Hall of Fame, Mrs. Bryce.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I am here tonight to recognize some fantastic people from our community. We weren't able to do this last year, so I'm really excited to be able to get back in the routine of things and start recognizing our community members. As you know, each year, Heritage Middle School recognizes people in the community who have played a major role in contributing to the development of children in Chino Valley. The first recipients were back in 1989. Alfred Pott, a longtime member of CVUSD's Board of Trustees, and Lucy Bates, who volunteered her home as a place for social and recreational activities for our youth, were the first two to be recognized. Over the years, many school employees, volunteers, and board members have been nominated, but there have also been parents, community leaders, a town librarian, Little League coaches, and even a judge that was recognized. Tonight, it is my honor to recognize 3 community members that have dedicated their lives to Chino Valley youth. And what I'd like to do tonight, I'm doing things a little different, I'm gonna call up one at a time. The person that nominated these wonderful people will come up and read what they wrote, and then the nominees will receive a nice plaque. So our first is going to be Brian Purnell.
All right. I would like to nominate Al Parnell for the Heritage Middle School Hall of Fame. Retiring after 21 years, Al has dedicated his entire teaching career to Heritage Middle School and the Chino Valley community. One of our last Heritage Hawks, over the years, Al has worn many hats and served many needs while adapting to the changes and evolution of this campus. Providing high expectations and rigorous content, he has educated thousands in his time here at HMS, and for many families, 2 generations of students. In classrooms, he has served as a longtime language arts teacher and has also taught CTE, writing fluency, and way back was our boys PE coach. Around campus, he has been a basketball coach, yearbook advisor, team leader, Recycle for Reading founder, SEAC representative, media advisor, member of the leadership team, and a contributor for countless school improvement committees. In the community, he has served as an AYSO volunteer soccer coach and referee, Chino Valley Little League volunteer baseball coach and umpire, and as an active member of his Catholic Church. He has consistently been a utility player to solve problems and fill needs, as well as troubleshooting many behind-the-scenes coordinated efforts for field trips, assemblies, and special events. As our current longest-serving staff member, there is no one on the Heritage campus that has worked here without him. This is an honor he has worked hard to deserve, and he will be greatly missed.
Doesn't Al get to say something?
We'll call you up in a little bit to take a picture. Okay. Next, I would like to ask Link Elliott to come up.
Okay, hi, I'm Link. I nominated Diane Tucker. She is a coworker of mine from Arizona's Hometown Radio Group, and she's made a real positive impact in my life in the last 5 years I've known her. And when I wrote this is not going to be as heartfelt as what we just heard. I just want to point that out. I kind of mad-libbed and filled in the blanks trying to get here. But this just doesn't paint the whole picture of what Diane is, so keep that in mind. Diane Tucker's been with Arizona's Hometown Radio Group for nearly 20 years, serving Chino Valley and the surrounding populations. Diane and the whole Tucker family have been a Chino Valley staple for decades. With her busy career, she's made time to be an involved and successful parent of 2 Chino Valley graduates, last one this year. And they were both raised inside this school district. She was instrumental in starting the Chino Valley Weekly broadcast of Talk of the Town on KQNA, where the school district has one day a month where they can come on and talk about their stuff. And she's been active with 4-H, the fair, the school district, and has been both a participant and a sponsor through the radio group of all the Chino Valley Territorial Days events, at least that I've seen, but I didn't even get a number on that. There are several awards hanging in the office. She runs marathons to benefit various area organizations, supports local law enforcement. Diane's a friend of the Arizona Game and Fish Department as well, and is a responsible hunter and angler. She lives for others, touching lives everywhere she goes. She's lost several close family members this year, well, 18 months, I guess. And you've taken that hurt, you've really put it towards other people. And that's nice. Diane represents some of the best parts of Chino Valley, and Chino Valley's blessed to have her. That's what I got.
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I've had both of Diane's children, so that doesn't surprise me. Okay, next I'd like to call up Mary Ellis. Hello there.
If you don't bite.
I bite back. I drove school bus for a lot of years. I drove a school bus for several years for the district, and I drove them for another district too. And I met Lori Marley when I very first came on board driving a school bus. She was one of the first little groups of field trips I took off. And I just adored the way all her kids just look at her like, oh, Mama Goose, what are we gonna do now? These kids just absolutely loved her. I watched her go from Del Rio over to Territorial, and those little kids they just soaked her up. They just loved her so much. And then I came to the high school, and I got to be in TSW program. One of the kids here needed me, and I feel I'm trying to make an impact on them. And I've seen Lori over and over and over take these kids that don't have anything, give them what they need, whether it's food, a backpack, or a hug. She's always there to support the kids, and she always does it very discreetly so that they don't have any shame. She makes sure any kid in our district has a Christmas that wouldn't have one otherwise. They've got clothes, they've got shoes, anything they need. And I just think Lori is a good person to have around, and I just absolutely adore her. And we wouldn't be who we are without her, I think. I think she's the absolute perfect person to be our homeless liaison, because she just genuinely loves these kids. And the parents too. She helps a lot with the parents. And they've got a great plaque for her.
Al, if I can have you come up. Yeah. Can we get a picture?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Are you not getting in there with them?
Yes. Thank you, each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Lori, no surprise, Al and I have worked together off and on for 14, 15 years, and Lori and I were teachers over at Territorial many moons ago. So wonderful, wonderful Hall of Famers. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, all of you. Thank you for your service. Item 7B, student council report.
Heidi, do we have a student council rep coming by
They
chance?
were supposed to.
Do you want to talk maybe a little?
Sure, you want me to come up and tell you everything I know?
Yeah,
She was the prom queen, so.
yeah.
So, we had an awesome prom on Saturday night. We had it at the Prescott Vibes. And we had about 270 of our students come. I don't know if you've been there, that was my first time being there, and they just have a lot of space, so it was great because the kids had the dance floor, we had the inside, but we also had a lot of outdoor room, and there was places for the kids to sit, there was a carriage, and Jed's was nice enough, Donna, she went ahead and just provided for us some goodies and cupcakes and stuff like that. And so it was great to see the kids out. They enjoyed the evening, but there was plenty of space for them to move around. And it was a great night. And all the kids that I spoke to were happy. So that was great. Today we had our senior meeting and just went over some important dates. We're going to have our award ceremonies on Wednesday. We're going to start with ninth graders first period, then 10th graders second period, 11th graders third period, and of course our seniors will be 6 o'clock that evening. We also talked about, I'm going to jump around a little bit, so I'm sorry, about going to splash something in Mesa.
Sunsplash.
Sunsplash, thank you.
Sunsplash, yeah.
And that'll be on Thursday, so we're just getting the seniors to go ahead and do the senior trip. So it'll just be a day trip. We don't have a whole lot of seniors, maybe about 50 that are going, but I'm happy that we have that to provide for them. And then, of course, we're just getting ready for our band and choir concert, which will be next Monday and Tuesday. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head. I should have, it's not on my phone.
17th and 18th.
17th and 18th.
Thank you very much. And then we have, 6:30 at Heritage. Thank you, Ms. Rice. And then we will go ahead and start with our Memories Assembly and Talent Show. It'll be out on the football field on the 20th. And then on Monday, the 24th, we will do the senior walk and go to Territorial, Del Rio, and Heritage, and that's been worked out with the principals, so thank you, principals. And then they'll have a barbecue after that, and then we'll have a field day on Tuesday for the seniors, and that's during the time that the 9th through 11th graders will be having their finals. And then we'll have our graduation rehearsal on Wednesday, the 26th. Come back and have pizza, and then graduation that evening. Every senior has received 10 tickets and a designated area. Right now, we are going to have to wear masks. It's suggested but or recommended but not required at Finley, so they are working with us. And if students need extra tickets, they are told that they can just go to a friend who maybe only needs 6, and then just take those and just have their group sit together at Finley. So if they need more than 10 tickets, they could just do that within their own senior class. Caps and gowns came in today, so that was really exciting for our seniors. So it's just we're just busy getting the rest of the year finished up, and great that we can have so many activities for our students.
Any questions? Thank you, good job.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Item 7C, Superintendent's Report, Mr. Schultz.
Not on here, but one thing I wanted to mention, in your box, you should have received the magazine with the Teachers of the Year in it. So the Yavapai County Education Foundation this year chose to not do the annual banquet with the Teachers of the Year that they had for each category and so forth. This is in lieu of that, and so each school got to select a teacher, and then they were highlighted in this magazine that is available from, I know it's available on dcourier.com, because I've seen it there, which is the Courier website, and then also there's hard copies. We have a few, every staff member in the district got one, in addition to the board and administrators. So those went out, and it's a very well done magazine. And so just take a look, and it honors all our teachers one teacher at each school, and then every school gets one, so it's a significant number of staff in there. ESSER 3 update, the allocation, which is the last state or government stimulus to schools, that the allocations have not been made public. We expect them literally any day. And the application portal is not yet open. We have some preliminary information regarding the requirements, but we're still waiting. Mr. Livingston and Cindy and I are getting together Thursday morning to kind of put together some initial ideas on how to spend that money. And one thing that we know for certain is like summer school that's coming up, that's going to be coming out of there. 20% of the expense needs to, or of the revenue needs to be spent on, quote, learning loss. What that means, we don't exactly know yet, but summer school is definitely within that definition. We're certain. Yeah, so summer school coming up in June will be part of that expense, but others we're just kind of holding off right now. COVID update. There's a benchmarks worksheet or sheet along with a, that has color on it, should be on the back side, along with, the very last one, along with kind of a community or Yucca County summary. The benchmarks have increased to substantial and moderate transmission levels for cases per 100,000 and percent positivity respectively. The current cumulative transmission level is substantial. These are county-wide numbers. I want to make sure that's clear, because if you look on the other sheet that has a summary of just local cases, the number of cases in Chino Valley and Paulding are relatively low as compared to other areas of the county. There's about 2 cases per day on average in Chino Valley, and about, 3 cases per month in Paulding. So the cases in Paulding are very low, and the cases in Chino have been, 42, about a case and a half a day over the last 30 days. So in the Quad Cities, there's anywhere from 9 to 49. And you got to remember, those are county numbers, and sometimes they'll kind of correct data, and they might have missed some over the last month and add that to a day, just because those numbers come up. So really, it's good to look at like last 2 weeks of averages and so forth. And anyway, we have had 1 staff report positive on campus since February. The number of student cases on campuses has been minimal and manageable, and I'm recommending continuing with the current model of all in-person instruction with face coverings recommended but optional. So no changes to what we're doing is where I'd like to continue for the remaining 9.5 instructional days that we have. Questions about that? And counting, oh yeah.
No, I said,
No,
who's
and who's
counting?
counting? We have no.
John, sort of a question related to the graduation that Heidi gave. If Tim's is recommending or requiring face masks for the students, should we plan on wearing them up on this platform?
They are not requiring it.
Oh.
There is no requirement. It's just for those that wish to wear them for their personal use.
Oh, okay.
So it's not required, and it's really a personal choice. We'll be able to space that. I think there's plenty of space on the floor to space the kids out, so they'll have lots of room when they're sitting.
Sure.
And then, as Heidi mentioned, we're trying to get those 10 tickets so that the family units sit together, and then there'll be space between those family units. That's the plan. Heidi?
We're gonna be, usually we use about 3/4 of the whole arena. We're gonna use the whole arena.
The
They're not-
floor part you're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're using everything, so it'll be a lot more space to space out the students.
Well, even the stage, normally the stage is
Right.
about 1/3 of the way up. They're gonna move up the stage all the way back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that there'll be a lot more seating available for
Right.
people to, and we're limiting, so that, at 150 graduates, 130 graduates, something like that?
Yeah.
135, you're only talking about 1,300 people. So that capacity is gonna be, I think they hold, 3,000 to 4,000, I think is the capacity of the event center. So there should be plenty of room for people to spread out.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine, that's perfect. perfect question. Any other questions about COVID? Budget update. I talked to our lobbyist this morning. She is telling me that the budget negotiations have basically stalled down at the legislature. She does not see any time soon that the budget will be developed or finished. And so we could easily go into, looks like probably into June, or at least the end of May before we have anything solid on the budget. Okay. There's a lot of, I'll say, discretionary funds that people are deciding what to do with. And so that's, I think, really where a lot of the fight is between spending it on needs, whether it be schools or prisons or social programs, and tax cuts. I think that's really where the fights, where the tug of war seems to be. Staff members of the month, wanted to recognize Patty Flick, a teacher at Territorial, and Connie Olson, our classified staff at Territorial. At Del Rio, we had Sue Martin as our teacher and Ashley Laurie as our classified staff. Heritage was Trish Andrioski and Amber Winsky, and that was nice because they were in the same classroom, so they got to take their picture together at Heritage. At the high school, we have Alan Foster and Amy Welker, and we have our very own Karen Hickson, our district captain.
Who was on the sign out front when I went by earlier today.
And as always, we want to thank Donna Webb from Jed's Sandwich Shop for her support of the staff members of the month. We are going to change up the things a little bit next year. Instead of doing it monthly, we're still going to do it, but just quarterly. So once every 3 months we'll have, or once every 2.5 months, we'll still do the same, something similar, just on a quarterly basis instead of monthly basis. Staffing. So as of this afternoon, I believe all of our teacher positions are filled at Heritage and Territorial. They are very excited. Del Rio is still looking for a resource teacher, is my understanding. And a Title I teacher, okay? And then the high school is looking for a CTE teacher. And there's 3 openings on the website, but it's whichever one fills first. We're looking for 3 different types of CTE teachers, and we're going to take whichever one works best. We can fit any of those. So there are 3 positions open, but we're only filling one of those. We also are looking for a counselor for our special ed department. And then, of course, we always seem to have paraprofessional openings available. We have had, for several years, we've had significant difficulties finding special education teachers. And we have, after having no viable applicants, we have begun hiring international teachers. So we actually have 3 Filipino teachers, one that'll be our preschool special ed teacher at Territorial, and then 2 that'll be at Heritage serving as our resource teachers. We're excited about them. It's a little bit different than before. You can actually do Zoom, and did you guys see what they look like actually? So Google Classroom or Zoom meetings, and so you get to kind of see instead of just a telephone interview. So you get to see them, talk with them. One of the teachers actually was a teacher in Arizona a couple years ago, was on at San Carlos, and so she's going to be at Territorial. So we're excited about them. They've come with awesome credentials and awesome recommendations from the people they work with. 2 of them will be coming on what's called a J1 visa, which is it's almost like a student exchange program, except for teachers. So they're going to be coming here. They're limited to 3 years. So they'll be here for 3 years and then they have to go back home. But, and then the other one will be the one that was in San Carlos was on a J1 visa, left for 2 years. She's coming back on what's called an H1B visa, which is for hard to fill positions. And because we have a relationship with colleges, we don't get, there's a cap, and that cap's already been filled. But because of our relationship with universities, in this case, University of Southern California, we are able to have her come in, and it's a resident visa. Her goal is to become a U.S. resident. So, but she can get a green card and stay here on a permanent basis once with that H-1B visa. So, I mentioned to Mr. Vogel, and he's working hard on it. We are looking for places for these staff members to live. And so they'll be coming in hopefully the middle of July is our hope. And so we're gonna be needing rental, whether it be a room or apartment or a house for all three of them, however it works, we're gonna need to find some accommodations for new teachers. And so, and actually there may be other teachers that we need accommodations for, the way the housing program or the housing market is in the area right now. But anyway, excited that they're very excited also. They want to come here, they want to work in the United States, they want to do a good job for us, so we're excited to have them come. Any questions about our new teachers, our staff members?
Sounds good.
Just a reminder on tax donations, the state extended the tax credit donation deadline to match what the tax return deadline is, which is Monday, a week from today. So anyone that has last minute tax credit donations can make those through May 17th. Our June board meeting, just a reminder, has been moved to June 9th. I know Mr. Fogel is not going to be there. I want to make sure that the other four will be there.
As of right now, it's gonna put it in the account.
Perfect.
John, is it possible for me to link into the
Absolutely.
meeting on my computer?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
So we can-
Then I will be able to participate.
Okay, all right. And then what we tend to do is at least get you your voice on the phone at a minimum, and then you can watch it on, it's gonna be delayed a little bit, but you can watch it on the screen, is what happens.
Okay.
And then in July, it's the normal board meeting, but Penny's gonna be on. So I wanna make sure everyone, it's holiday time, it's vacation time, so people tend to be gone. So I wanted to make sure, and we weren't gonna miss anyone else that we know of. July 12th. All right. Okay. And then at your table, there is a calendar for kind of end of year and beginning of year events. Just a reminder, and Heidi mentioned it, we have 2 events on May 26th, which is a Wednesday. At 2 o'clock, we have our all staff recognition. This will be our only opportunity this year. Normally we do it at the beginning of the year, but we didn't. Our only opportunity this year to get our 288 employees together in the same room. So if you are welcome to come, we invite you, we really would want you there. And if you are gonna be there, if you could let Karen know, and she'll, so that we expect you. And also at graduation, that evening at 7 o'clock, we'll be on the stage, probably giving more fist bumps than anything else, and then handing out diplomas on that evening. Then we have again, the governing board meeting was changed to it's the second Wednesday instead of the second Monday. We have our holiday for July 4th is actually on July 5th. Because July 4th is on Monday. Our governing board meeting is July 22nd. The new teacher breakfast, an opportunity for you guys to have a great breakfast served by the new chef that Sodexo hired. He's going to be making breakfast for us. But, and also meet all of our new teachers, including our Filipino teachers, our international teachers coming in. So that's an opportunity that kicks off probably not quite as early as 7. What time do we usually start? 7:30-ish?
We start checking people in at 7 and eat at 7:30.
There you go. So show up between 7 and 7:30. And again, if you could let Karen know that you'll be coming. On August 2nd, we have the all-staff breakfast and kickoff. That is typically, we did the orientation, we're changing that. That's all done online. You all should have been part of that email that went out that I believe I put you on there. I may have taken you off. But instead of doing in-person classes, we're doing all of our orientation through Google Classroom, similar to what our students are doing or did last year. And then instead of doing our orientation, we are going to have a keynote speaker we'll take our pictures for our IDs, we'll do breakfast, we will have a vendor fair, and then we'll get our t-shirts and get together and take our staff picture, which we did not do this past year. So, and then of course, August 4th, it's not that far away, is the first day of school, and then our August governing board meeting is August. That's yours.
Oh, that's-
No, it was mine, but I think you're welcome, man.
No, I can find one, that's just. Make sure.
Yep.
I think I have these all on the calendar.
All right. Questions, concerns, comments?
Thank you.
Yep.
Forgot it was. All right, agenda item 7D1 are financial reports.
Okay. If we just go through these pages one at a time here, we see a couple updates and I guess some comparative numbers. If we look at the first page coming across here, we see the M&O account with the encumbrances, 4,279,000. Last year at this time, the end of April 2020, we had that, the district had it down to 3.9 million. So we know we've got about 360,000 of extra encumbrances there. We just haven't been closing a lot of purchase orders. I went over this with all the departments and they said, well, we just have had a kind of an unusual year. It doesn't mean they're gonna spend everything that's encumbered. But in reality, if you come over to the far right, you see the negative 2.01% there for the available amount. That's closer to a positive number based on those encumbrances coming down. So that's not a huge concern. You see the capital there is 3.21%. We'll probably spend most of that capital. And then the adjacent ways, 60.02%. Those are real facts with the encumbrances pretty well going to be spent. And we move along through the next page here is just July through December for the cash flow. We get over to April in the cash flow, and we did have some late revenues. I did this the night of the 30th when I did this report, and I thought I would just put it in as part of our report. If you go down to that fourth line there in the revenues, levy fund 001, we did book a large amount of March property tax, 983,000. So that makes that ending cash coming into May look up a lot better. So we have a positive cash there instead of starting May there with the negative 65,000. But there's a time there after property tax hits in November. We have January, February, March, and April with not a lot of revenue coming in. So we did get these revenues booked at the county treasurer. So that's a really good sign. I think last year they said for the 2020 year, our delinquent property tax rate was less than it was 99.12% collected. So a very low default or delinquency property tax rate, which is very positive.
Very good.
So I'm not really concerned about those numbers. They don't look great right now, but I believe at year end, there'll be a positive cash to carry forward at least 500,000 again. Last year we carried forward 822,000 in the operating fund. And we have again summaries for you on the cash fund balances. Any question there or the actual cash balances? Looking at those. We have several funds that we supplement out of operations until their own revenues catch up. And I believe by the end of June, these will turn around. For example, if you look at Fund 959 on the cash balances, you see there's a positive 36,000. That's the very last one on page 3 of the cash balances. And if you look back on my little report here, we're at a negative 67,000 just based on encumbrances. So those should turn around really well. And that's really all I have for the financial report for the month ended April 30th.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, thank you. Well, item 7D2, student activity.
Yes, and I think with that, you see on the far right column, positive balances throughout. And I don't see any negatives there or any real reason for negatives. There hasn't been a great deal of activity there, but that's, I guess, one benefit. We haven't had a lot of expenditures for student activity.
Good questions or discussion? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consent agenda. This is an action item. Please remember that item E has been pulled. Can we get a motion for approval of tonight's consent agenda?
I move we approve tonight's consent agenda with the exception of E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9A, 21-22 counselor entry salary schedule. Mr. Shaw.
Well, we have a new counselor that we're gonna hire. We actually have two. We filled one at Heritage already, and then we have our district special ed counselor. We did not update the counselor entry salary schedule when we did the classified and the certified salary schedules. With the certified salary schedule, we added $1,000. That's what we're doing here is to match that. So There's a copy of the old one, a copy of the new one. All we're doing is adding $1,000 to that master's degree with no experience level, and it trickles down in the rest of the.
And that's just that one special position.
Well, we actually have 4 of them, I think. Actually, counselors, we have 6 counselors. Because we have 4 mental health counselors and 2 academic counselors. Is that correct? Yeah.
And they're all falling under this chart then.
We have 3 mental health and 2 academic.
There we go, we have 5. Sorry. Yeah, and so all those counselors, whether they be guidance counselors or mental health counselors, are on this schedule. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 counselor entry salary schedule.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9B, temporary summer custodian positions.
We have had a request from Chris Sheriff, our facilities director, for some additional help over the summer. There's some, we are using so much of, summer school's taking up a lot of room that we would normally be able to do deep cleaning in. And he's requesting additional help to get things done. He's asking for 5 positions. We have 1 applicant right now, and we may not get any more. So we may be lucky to get to fill the 1 out of the 5 that we're requesting, but it's just a request to have temporary positions, June and July, to help us out cleaning and doing the deep cleaning and stuff like that. So it's using this is one of the expenses that we would take out of ESSER 3 for that purpose, for the deep cleaning.
I'll make a motion to approve 5 temporary substitute custodian positions.
Second?
Second.
Questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9C, personnel report.
There is a supplement, so please view the supplements as well. There's 7 new certified, 7 new classified, 3 new classified substitutes, 13 resignations, and this is resignation season. We did send out contracts, and so people had to make a decision. We have 4 certified changes, 15 classified changes, 1 extra duty, and 1 coach.
I always expect to say.
21 is resigning as a teacher?
Going to industry.
Yes, he's gonna go, yes,
Does
Uh-huh.
they all,
They're not leaving.
they're not leaving?
no.
Okay. I was just surprised to see his name down
Make much more money
Industry.
is working in his field
here. Oh, is he?
out in industry than he could as
Gotcha,
a teacher.
gotcha. Makes sense,
Yeah.
makes sense.
All right, this is an action item. We have a motion to approve tonight's personnel report with supplement.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's personnel report with the supplement.
And second.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Agenda 10A. This is our 21 district expenditure budget revision number 3. This is the approval of our public meeting. Go ahead, Mr. Livingston.
That's great. So again, just a really quick summary, every other number in the budget except that $50,000 difference in our operating fund was the same exact number that we approved at the April meeting. And we just like these differences to be 0, so that the student count they have for us and the distance learning percentage they have for us, and cash carry forward they have for us is exactly what we have for us. And there's a $1 difference in capital. You look at the backside of that other sheet, we just mentioned budget 25 report. And then the operating fund goes down around the 50,000 in that summary. And then when we end the year, they won't recalculate. My information is that there's a very little chance that after the April budget 25 and April reports come out, that they'll continue to tick-tack on our student attendance and our student counts. So that 2,061 students for the 2021 year should be the final number. So that's been verified and it's validated, and it's called integrity. It has to meet data integrity for a student to match, and it does. And Kathleen Lowe, our integrity person, has done a tremendous job. So I anticipate that will be where we stop.
Again, this is an action item, looking for a motion to approve our expenditure budget revision number 3.
I will so move.
Second,
Second.
questions, comments, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10B, proposed issues for consideration for the 22 political agenda.
So this went out to, I assume all of you are getting the ASBA emails that come out anyway. But this is the political agenda to drive what ASBA will do actually a year from now. So, and then there'll be discussion about this at various meetings throughout the year. I think there's one at the law conference and there's one at the ASBA conference in December that will kind of finalize this information. The information was sent out to you. You were supposed to respond. Karen took the information that we got back and kind of made a chart on the last summary sheet in that agenda item to kind of give an idea where some of the overlap was. There was some overlap. There was a significant amount not of overlap. But at a minimum, this kind of gives you some guidelines to start instead of seeing that long sheet. You all as a board need to come up with 5. Now, what that means though is that you may pick 5 and then Karen tomorrow will enter this information wherever it goes. And then they take all the school boards that are members and take that input to develop their total agenda, statewide agenda. So, Madam President, you.
I was just gonna ask, how do y'all want to do this? So I think we could do this a couple of different ways. We can go through and we can discuss each and every item. I kind of feel that's gonna take a really long time. How about we go around and those of us that did choose, just kind of give your points on why you chose that. And hopefully we can come to a consensus, and at that time, maybe one of us may want to poll ours and go to that group. Does that sound kind of okay plan, or anyone else have a better
I
idea?
have a thought.
Please.
There are 4 that had,
I thought
that
of
had
that too.
2,
Yes.
and that means we only need to come up with 1
My name
more.
isn't on here, because I obviously didn't do
You
this.
didn't do it, yeah.
We were gonna both bring it out.
I need to be, I'm
So anyway, that's
why
my
is
thought.
it put there?
I thought the exact
I
same
think that's
thing,
pretty-
Penny, and if everyone is in
I'm-
favor of that,
I am.
absolutely okay with that.
So we're
There are
saying that,
4 items with 2
I don't see.
votes on each.
The 4 items are fully restore 9th grade CTE, CTED eligibility and funding to allow students to explore career fields. Hold school districts harmless for significant enrollment losses for school year 2021. Protect public schools from liability if a community member contracts COVID-19 while engaged in school-sponsored activities. And provide dedicated school capital funding consistent with the constitutional requirement.
So that's 4.
yeah, so we
If
don't.
everybody agrees with that,
Yeah,
then we only need to come up with 1 more.
yeah.
And there's only one on the fully funded kindergarten, full day kindergarten, which I think is really,
And I have to say, I was under the impression it was already fully funded, but just
is it not?
not all over.
So right now, we provide all-day kindergarten,
Right.
but we're only funded for half of those kids that go all day.
So I think that, to me, that is a huge thing.
And then once I realized that, I
I
decided
think
that was
that the
important.
Yeah, I agree with
full day with kindergarten, full day kindergarten is a really big deal.
Okay, there we are, 5.
Hey, we got them.
But before we vote on any of these, let's make sure everyone's on the same page with them. Mike, what's your
Madam-
thoughts, please?
Yeah, I would actually like to move to amend the motion and add a statement
Okay,
or an addendum to whatever 5 categories we end up choosing.
okay.
And I'm okay with what we've looked at so far. And that statement is this, that CVUSD strongly urges, for the sake of a flourishing economy where all people benefit and a dynamic democracy, that the Arizona legislature and governor reverse its 3.5 decades of de-investing or defunding traditional district public education by replacing tax cuts with reinvesting state revenue surpluses into district public schools.
Wow.
Now, when we look at the,
I wrote it all down.
Oh, we'll work that out.
Exactly.
So my suggestion that is a sixth item that we, or sort of a board policy request to the SBA.
I think it's a general statement he's requesting that
board
the
policy.
board.
that
And that's
that
okay.
maybe is attached to the 5 items.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, it's, yeah, an overriding policy from this board.
Right.
But do we do that?
We can.
Okay.
Nothing can stop us.
I know, I'm just asking. I just never been like had it.
By the way, there needs to be a second to that before we discuss.
But yeah, absolutely, and is your motion then to do these, adopt these 5 that we've discussed plus your statement?
Yes, this is a motion to amend the motions and add this statement.
Okay.
So we haven't finalized I guess, the original motion, have we?
No.
Yeah.
Well, that would be
That would
the
be the
5 we
original.
discussed, so.
That's the original
So I'll
motion.
second your motion, Mike, just so we can discuss it.
Now we can have more discussion.
Okay.
Now
I thought-
everyone, don't-
So I thought this was particularly important as I looked at the items that we selected. 90% of them relate to the budget. And having been a member of this staff and worked in education in the state of Arizona as long as I have, I've noticed that for 30 years, we've been de-investing in public education. And our legislators and governors have thought that this was the best thing to do, and that we do not have a revenue problem, haven't had a revenue problem with regards to being able to cover or to invest in education further. We are a district in a local, in a rural setting that is not unlike many other rural districts in Arizona who are experiencing similar issues around state budgets. Those are not being able to fill teaching positions. We are 50th in the nation in teacher salaries, 48th in the nation in per pupil funding. And I believe that we could be doing a better job in our district if we could reduce classroom sizes, which requires more teachers. And the only way that that's going to occur is if our state government starts to budget education in a manner that allows us to do that, to invest in education. So sort of for those reasons, I'm arguing that we might add this to make our statement a little bit stronger.
I have something to say. I personally feel that this is your opinion and I value your opinion, but I would like to look into it, what you said a little bit more before we vote that it's attached, if that's okay. Just because you only said it one time.
Oh,
Is
no.
that okay?
Okay.
So our
President.
our motion on the floor is to accept these 5, attach the statement. We do have a second, so we do have to vote on this. It does not mean that you have to vote.
Well, I just felt like it's a representation of all of us and, I mean, this is my own opinion.
Do you want more time to
Yeah,
maybe
that's what I
read
was
it,
asking.
or?
Yeah, that's
Read
what
it.
I'm asking.
Yeah,
Can you
Yeah,
read it?
well, do you want to, you have it written down, I assume.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So do you want to just
Reread it.
either reread it or let Andy read it, or?
Yeah, you can read, just reread it.
Yeah, read it.
Yeah, read it out loud.
Oh,
One more
sure.
time.
One more time, yeah.
CVUSD strongly urges, for the sake of a flourishing economy where all people benefit and a dynamic democracy, that the Arizona legislature and governor reversed its 3+ decades of disinvesting or defunding traditional district public education by replacing tax cuts with reinvesting state revenue surpluses into district public schools.
Just one minor modification right at the end, Mike, where you see reversing tax cuts and reinvesting. And those are two separate things. I think that should be made a little bit clearer. Sort of discontinue tax cuts and reinvesting surplus funds. You see the point I'm trying to make?
I do. So by replacing tax cuts with reinvesting state tax revenue surpluses. So your phrase would be what instead? Traditional
Yeah, we're not reversing tax cuts, we're discontinuing tax cuts and using surplus funds to reinvest in.
By discontinuing?
Yeah.
I'm good with that word.
Does that help clarify it for you?
Should it be CVUSD governing board, or is it okay to leave it as CVUSD?
This is your,
Coming from the board.
this is your,
It's a motion by the board.
CVUSD, not board. The statement.
So
you're
our
saying
motion
the
is
Chino Valley
the board of-
Unified School District Governing Board.
That's
Add
fine.
to
I
it,
should
it's
think
fine.
that.
Because
Okay.
we are the ones that
We're the
are
ones
giving the
doing it, not the
political
whole
agenda
district. Okay.
choices.
I get it.
just for clarification so that we know that we are getting this documented correctly. We have the 5 items that were discussed as part of the motion are fully fund all day K,
Correct.
restore 9th grade CTE,
Yes.
CTED eligibility, hold school districts harmless for significant enrollment losses for the school year, the current school year. Protect public schools from liability related to COVID, I'm summarizing there.
Yeah.
And provide dedicated school capital funding consistent with the constitutional requirements. Those were the 5 that were discussed and decided, or that are part of the motion. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
Correct.
And then, Mr. Fogel, before you leave, if we can get like just a copy
Sure.
of that, then that'll be added to the minutes as well, if the motion is passed.
So we do have a motion and a second on the floor. We've had discussion. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed. Okay, so passes. Thank you.
A point of order, please.
Yes.
What we really should have done is you should have voted independently, separately on the amendment to the motion
we-
and then the original motion.
Do you want me to redo it, Mr. Schultz? Would you like me to
That's
redo that
your guys'
motion?
decision.
I actually didn't realize there was an amendment to the motion.
He's adding to the motion.
Oh.
But the motion actually simply states
Right.
approval of the board's top 5 priorities. So we have approved the top 5 priorities
Okay.
with added a statement.
I don't think there was ever a motion before you added your statement.
Right.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
So I think that was part of the original motion.
But I had asked him if he was making that motion.
Yeah, and it was during discussion that then we finalized the language
Right.
of the motion. So
Right.
I would think that the
That was in the
vote
original.
can stand as we did it, which would include Mike's statement.
That's correct.
Got it.
I agree.
However, I will go back and redo whatever all of you choose for me to do.
We're happy.
I think we just said.
We're good. All right.
Moving right along.
With that then, please, we are going to go to item 11A, policy IKFB graduation exercises.
So this was a policy or a law that was passed recently, within the past month or so, that had to do with graduation exercises. And basically what it says is that Native Americans are allowed to wear their Native regalia during graduation. There was some school somewhere that said, you can't wear that, and it was a beautiful feather or something to that effect. And so this states that the governing board of the school cannot prevent students from wearing Native American cultural items as part of their graduation regalia.
They cannot or they can?
The board cannot, or the school cannot prohibit them from doing that.
Because like eagle
The
feathers
kids-
are protected.
Right.
That's- that's-
The kids are allowed to, is what it's basically saying. This is, also requires immediate action or immediate approval. So there is also part of the motion, an explanation that it is going to be done under one vote per policy BGB, which allows the board, you guys, to put items in, policy in under emergency circumstances. And that's what the ASBA is recommending, since this was state law that's already been implemented. We're supposed to implement it. I don't know, Heidi, of any of our graduates, if we have any graduates this would apply to even.
I don't think so this year. I know in the past, they just wear their regalia underneath their, but,
Right.
you know, whatever.
Right.
So
We-
this is like, can you, explain this to me just a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
what are they wearing that they're approving? Like, give me an idea.
So a big one would be because eagle feathers, eagles are protected species.
Yeah.
And so under any other conditions, you wouldn't be able to wear like fur or feathers from a protected species.
Yeah.
Because it's against the law to own that.
Right.
And so and there was a school district 2 years ago that said a kid couldn't wear the eagle feathers from his nation that
Yeah.
were, and so this is what people want to do
So
it.
they would wear it like around their neck or like in their,
Right.
like where
Yeah,
bodies.
and we've had, and
Maybe
Heidi
in the
is
hair.
correct, we've had students, both Navajo and Hopi students who have worn their native dress, usually under their gowns or, like necklaces or things like that at graduation, and footwear and things like that, 8th grade graduation and high school, 8th grade recognition and high school graduation in the past.
And if you look at B on that policy, it talks about the objects of cultural significance and traditional tribal regalia, and they have their example there is a eagle feather or eagle plume.
And if I could probably pull up a picture on my phone from our student in 2017 who wore stuff at graduation. And a lot of kids decorate their cap, Native kids decorate their caps too, with Native symbols.
Gotcha. They still have to wear their cap.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
It's just in addition to what they would normally wear for graduation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is an action item, and we will need a motion to approve policy IKFB.
I'll make a motion of the approval of policy IKFB graduation exercises as amended in one reading as policy BGB that state that the policies may be adopted or amended at a single meeting of the board in a board declared emergency allowed.
Seconded.
We've already had discussion, but is there any other? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 11B, rescind regulation JICA-RV student dress.
So this is under the dress code policy. This is a regulation, so it's not a policy. And it's not going to be changed, like we would do 2 readings of a policy to change it. Regulation actually doesn't even need board approval, but this was approved by the board. This is the regulation that requires face coverings. So there's language in the regulation that says the superintendent has the authority to make changes, which I did, once the governor decided to lift the executive order. I'm asking the board to go ahead and rescind this if we ever got back into a situation that we needed to. I don't think we really needed to anyway, because we were working under the executive order. The ASB made this recommendation, but since we no longer have the executive order, I'm asking to rescind this regulation.
Fantastic. Again, action item, motion.
So this means that if we were to need face masks, you would make the call?
No,
Or it would still come back to the board if we did need to?
well, we didn't have a choice the first time. It was an
Right,
executive order,
right.
and that's kind of where we would be. If it ever came back to where we felt as a board, because something happened in the community,
Yeah.
it would be something that would come in a special meeting or at a regular meeting and decide.
I understand.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. So we're just keeping it the way that it is?
This will not change with what's currently happening.
Okay,
All it does is basically take away the verbiage that says we're supposed to,
okay,
and I'm waiving it because there's language in there.
right.
I just want the board to say, we're not gonna do it anymore. If we need to, we'll come back we'll get you guys back together to make that decision later. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were making a motion.
I'm making a motion. I've been making them all night. I've been moving us along. I make a motion to rescind regulation JICA-RB student dress.
Second,
Second.
any discussion, questions, comments, anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes. With that, the regular meeting is adjourned. However, I do need a motion to go into executive session.
After maybe a short break?
Okay, please.
Okay. Last question would be, we want that in here or in my office?
Where's everyone?
Did you bring it today?
I did.
We want your office.
I don't want to hang you board.
I make a motion to.
Oh, wait, no, we do need a motion to go into executive.
I'll make a motion to go into.
Okay,
After
second,
break.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Good night, everyone. Do you have,
Have a look.
Henry's-
Look good.
Okay, good.
Thank you for executive session.
I was hiding.